Hazy, you rattled my chain a lot going into break. So you're telling me that Bill Belichick's girlfriend sold those on purpose?
I'm not saying anything.
What are you saying?
I'm saying there's speculation and people are wondering.
Exactly.
Right? People are wondering, how does the ring, exactly, of Bill Belichick all disheveled with no shirt on, how does that get out? How does that get to TMZ or wherever it was? And I would think that's video that's pretty valuable.
Dude, if you're Belichick, that's the first question you're asking. After the next day, you're like, excuse me, how did the footage of your Ring door camera get on TMZ? Because you're the only one that has access to it. So what kind of Mickey Mouse games are we playing here?
Exactly.
Wow.
That's what I'm wondering. That's all I'm saying. And other people are saying. Many people are saying.
Put it this way. This guy's enjoying life because he's doing the exact opposite we all thought he would do. This guy's gone into college. Now he's got a 24-year-old girlfriend. Mm-hmm. He's trying to be hip. He's allowing her on the football field and all these things where how he ran the New England Patriots. This is opposite Bill. This is literally, remember opposite George in time? This is opposite Bill. He's doing everything that we all thought he would never do. He's doing it. And he's saying, to hell with the system. I'm 76. What do I care what
people
think?
Go live your life, Bill.
Right?
I hear you. Go live your life, Bill. Go do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You see, it was announced also today that it'll be Eagles-Cowboys on opening night. And Doogie said the spread's already been placed at Eagles minus 6.5, which I don't think is respecting the champs enough. I feel like that line's going to move the opposite way. I love that there is analysis on a football line in May when the game is 5 months away. But, the Cowboys get to go into Philly opening night, start the NFL season. I don't think you want anything to do with that if you're Jerry Jones. Like, the Eagles are so good. You presume everyone's healthy coming out of camp. I just feel like Philly's going to destroy Dallas on national TV to start the season. Could be wrong. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Destroy is an understatement.
Yeah, it feels like that line should be 7.5, 8, 8.5, and I wouldn't be shocked if it is come kickoff. But Chris Johnston will join us here in a moment. CJ was down in Florida covering, obviously, the two games by the Leafs and the Panthers, and we got a tied series. You know, we got a best 2 out of 3. And it's been very physical, and Florida's leaning on the Leafs. I think the Leafs have done their best to match that physicality. I think the Leafs have been pretty physical as well. Simon Benoit just destroyed Reinhart last night. That was a great hit.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of other big hits. And
the Leafs had a chance, Hayes. The Leafs had a chance to put them in a real bind and go up 3-0, and they got that game to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave them life, and it seems like now they have confidence. It's not like... I don't know, for whatever reason, a lot of people in hockey don't believe in momentum game to game. They don't believe in momentum. Paul Maurice was like momentum he's just like, I'm not into it. But confidence is massive. When they won that game, it's like, okay, guys, now we can just get back to our game and be the Florida Panthers who we've always been. And they did it last night. Well, and it's just, now it's punch, counter punch. What are the Maple Leafs going to say on home ice tomorrow? Because they got to say something, because if it's another kind of suffocation job, it's like there's some code cracking by the Panthers, and it's dangerous. It's it's dangerous going back to Florida if they win the next one.
You know what I thought about guys like it, and it's weird, and I don't have the answer. It was just more of a, throw it out into the universe. Like Sam Reinhart's a 50 goal scorer, but really is he 40? Whatever we'll call it. But he had 7 last year. He got crushed last night, absolutely crushed. And got up and played. Barkov got crushed last night. Got up and battled. Like, when's the last time? And not that these guys should ever put themselves in that, but like, I've never seen Marner ever get hit really hard. I've never seen Nylander ever go anywhere near getting crushed. Matthews puts himself, because he's a centerman, he's asked to be in the. But it's weird because you can get hit and give hits and still get up and play. It's just like Reinhart got destroyed. I wouldn't have been shocked if he laid down there.
That
like
was
Benoit
a huge hit,
destroyed him.
Yeah.
He got up and played. Like it was just it's weird. I don't know if they don't go near contact or if they're just really good at avoiding it, or guys they're good at eluding it because they're quick on their feet. Like it's just I can't remember ever seeing William Nylander ever getting hit like that.
Yeah,
ever.
I can't recall that either. And like Marner got clipped with a chicken wing, but that's not
that
what
was
you're talking
dirty.
about.
That's a dirty play.
Yes.
I'm talking like behind the net, having to absorb a check or, take a hit to kind of make a play.
Yeah.
It just did. And it's just weird. Like I thought about that last night. I don't have the answer to it, but it was just all the other stars get destroyed and get hit and they're targeted and all that. It's just, I don't know. I don't see those guys in the getting hit that much.
Yeah, which, again, I don't think is a compliment. Like, at times it's good to be crafty, but at some point you need to be so in the mix that you
got to take that hit.
Exactly. You got to take the hit to make the play.
Right.
Here's our TSN Hockey Insider joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Here's Chris Johnston. CJ, can you recall any points in the playoffs where Nylander or Marner got crushed to either make a play or just were in the mix of making a play and got hit that hard?
Nothing jumps to mind. I mean, I have to think over 9 years it happened at some point.
Sure.
But there's, being in the building last night, and obviously Noodles is highlighting it there, like that Reinhardt hit, that was one that almost brought me out of my seat because it was, you really noticed it. I don't recall that. I mean, it seems like with Marner especially, I mean, the guy, I don't recall him being hit too hard too often ever in his career, not just playoffs. So, I would think that's some of his agility in his skating, and they're obviously not going out there trying to get hit either.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. In terms of Berube's approach to the game, where he wasn't happy with everyone's effort last night. He indicated that last night that some guys need to be better. What was your read on his impression, Craig Berube, of the effort his team gave last night?
Well, I think he liked aspects of the game, the physicality, the way they did battle through the night. What he didn't like, of course, is all those penalties they take in the first period, which he felt really disrupted the game. And, he also didn't like the second period when they had some power plays of their own and they didn't make good on them, not just scoring, which, obviously he would have liked to have seen, but he didn't feel that they got enough out of those in terms of, looks or opportunities where they had a chance to apply some pressure back on the Panthers. But, I got the sense, big picture, he looks at his, back end. Like Sibam Benoit has 8 hits in that game, including the one you're mentioning there on Reinhardt. I think that there was, he likes the compete level of the team, obviously likes what he sees from Joseph Woll and net, but needs to see more going in the offensive zone, and was kind of ruining some of the, I think what he felt was like the team's impatience in that game, because the Panthers are frankly a team that can frustrate opponents. That's what they've done in winning 8 of their 9, last playoff series. And, I think it's something that he'll be looking for a little bit more commitment, come Game 5.
CJ, a lot of praise has been heaped on Auston Matthews' complete game, his face-offs and 200-foot, whatever people call it these days, checking and all the other aspects of his game. If you could give Craig Berube some truth serum, like what do you think his honest answer about the evaluation of a star player would be?
Well, I think he likes those things. I mean, they're all there. They're undeniable. I mean, they reflected the stats, but Auston Matthews is who he is because he scores goals. And so, I think with to me, it's Matthews and Marner both.
Did we lose CJ? I think we lost CJ. All right, we'll see if we can get him back. I think he's back in Toronto as far as I know.
Yeah.
Do you think Berube, like we discussed it earlier, you threw it out, the idea of splitting them up, Matthews and Marner?
I'd give it a shot for a period.
Yeah, just like Berube's been so committed to those two playing together, Nylander playing with Tavares. He's barely gotten off it all year. And when he did, instinctively, he went right back. It felt like after a shift or two.
Well, maybe both center. I don't think John Tavares had a good game yesterday either. I didn't hardly notice him.
No, he scored 2 goals in Game 3. I liked this game in Game 3. I liked a lot of guys' game in Game 3. But you're right. I didn't notice. I thought Tavares was really quiet last night.
Yeah, I don't like panicky type moves, obviously, but I would hate to have the same roster, same lineup, and the same thing happen again where it was like, man, we decided to make a change too late. I did. My idea would be to throw something fresh at it and just see what happens.
Okay, let's bring in CJ, Chris Johnston back with us. CJ, could you picture a scenario where Berube splits up Matthews and Marner for Game 5?
I think it's got to be on the table because it's just before the call dropped out there. I think for me, both those guys, you need a little more offensively out of. And, it's not something really throughout the year we saw happen too often. They spent most of their time when they were both healthy, playing together under Craig Berube. But, you get to this stage of a playoff series, you're looking for a little shot of energy, a little boost anywhere you can get it. And, maybe it's in rearranging those chairs. There was a shift early in the third period when the Leafs actually started pressing where he simply flipped Marner and Nylander and had Nylander up on Matthews' right wing. Maybe that's the switch. But, I do think that I'm expecting something, a little different look for Game 5. I mean, the Leafs, other than Anthony Stolarz, have been pretty healthy. They've been rolling with the same lineup and the same lines, but it feels like we're at a moment now after getting shut out, not really sustaining much in the offensive zone in that last game, that he's going to be looking for some kind of spark, and that might be where he goes.
A quick follow up on that, CJ. Any updates on Stolarz? Has anybody spotted him skating or anything? Have they been a little forthcoming with it? Because it's been, obviously with the team down in Florida, he might have been skating, obviously working out or doing something back here. Have they been willing to update, or have you heard anything on Stolarz?
No, if he skated, I'm not aware of it. As of the days are blending together, as of Saturday, he hadn't yet skated. And really the expectation seems to be that we're probably not going to see him in this series. I don't think we can rule him out 100%, but I think at this point, obviously, there was a head trauma there, and let's face it, head related injuries there's not always a clear path to recovery. But the fact he wasn't skating, almost a week after that injury, there's going to be a timetable here, and I guess you get to a point, and some of this will probably depend on how Joseph Woll builds on what was, clearly a pretty strong start for him last night. If he is healthy, even say for a Game 7 that might happen, would you want to put him in there? And, it's hard to know if that option will be available and how they'll view that. But I think at this point, you're looking at the Leafs likely needing to win this series in order to give Stolarz a chance to come back. But, I'll put a slight asterisk on that because it's the playoffs and you never know what's going to happen. Game 7 wouldn't be till next Sunday. But that doesn't appear right now that we're likely to see him against the Panthers again.
With Chris Johnston, Sam Bennett he wasn't a game winner last night, but it ended the game effectively. And as I'm watching him and I'm watching his role on this team and thinking that he's a UFA at the end of the year, like, how can Florida possibly not keep him? Like, how do they possibly let Sam Bennett go? Can you picture a scenario where they just can't come to terms, or is this just a formality it's going to get done?
I don't think it's a formality because I know they've tried throughout the season to sign him, and so obviously the fact they haven't been able to do that suggests at least possibly walks away. But he brings such an important element to their team that I don't think the door is closed on those conversations just yet. And it comes down to how are the Panthers going to spend their money? They have both Sam Bennett and Aaron Ekblad up as potential UFAs. Given even with the cap jumping up, it might be tough to keep both of them. There might come down to a decision about how they're going to navigate keeping one or the other of those players. But Bennett will have a lot of suitors if he gets to July 1st. Largely built, frankly, on what he does in the playoffs. I mean, it's not to say he's not an effective regular season player, but he's a 50-point guy in the regular season. And there's a lot of forwards that are in that kind of class in the NHL. Where what we don't have a lot of is guys that can make the sort of difference he does, that play with the edge he does. We don't always celebrate it, especially when you see the Stolarz injury, but even the way you can get under opponent's skin and find a way to operate in the gray, we'll call it, when the physicality of a playoff series is so important. I mean, this does add value to what he is. I mean, even in that Four Nations tournament, scored a gorgeous goal in the championship game for Canada, playing with the best of the best in the country, was able to find a spot in that lineup. So I don't think Florida will willingly let him go, and we saw them go right down to the wire last year with Sam Reinhart before ultimately extending him. I mean, no mystery. Players like living in the Fort Lauderdale area. They love playing for the Panthers. It's a great team. So, I think they've still got a shot at keeping him, but they're going to have to up their offer from where it was earlier in the year to make it happen.
So if you look at, a potential roster change for Wednesday, I mean, we were talking about maybe flipping lines around and that, but is there anything more you could see happening maybe at the bottom of the roster? I don't know, Nick Robertson coming in, moving bodies around, a guy like Jorn Croker, somebody else maybe that hasn't had the series that they've wanted, and maybe Chief decides to change things up for a different look.
I think it might be time for that. I mean, look, we saw Paul Maurice do something I don't recall, for Game 3. He switched out his entire fourth line, and, they wound up getting a goal in that game. Last night when Rodriguez was injured, you had Nosek moved up he went from scratch to start the series, the fourth line, to playing some shifts on the top line because of that injury situation. I think one of the strengths the Leafs have now is they do have some depth, and it's both a reflection of maybe some players that aren't giving you a ton, as you say, like a Calle Yarncroke, but also just why not get some fresh legs in there if you have them. I mean, it's kind of a normal thing for teams to do. So, they had a nice little run going, win the first 3 games against Ottawa. I could see how they got sort of locked into this lineup, but, I would think there's a good possibility maybe David Kampf comes back in. I realize these are just moving pieces around the bottom 6, but you're trying to get a little bit more out of the team. And, really the biggest question is, would they ever consider doing with Bobby McMahon? He's, I believe, 21 games now without a goal and was a 20-goal scorer for them in the regular season. I think they've tried to be, hold on as long as they can with him because, clearly he's a great skater, he's a big guy, he can score. They're thinking it's coming at some point. But, we'll have to see how dramatic they want to get. My read on Craig Berube is he's very much a settle things down kind of guy. He doesn't get too excitable when maybe the pressure goes up. I think quite honestly that served the team well, but maybe this is the moment to send maybe a little larger message and get everyone's attention with some of the moves he makes lineup wise.
That's kind of the reason why it's so important. It's one of the main reasons, not just because they're the best players, but you mentioned some players there like Calle Yarncroke and Bobby McMahon. They seem so far away from scoring a goal. Like it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I don't remember the last time Calle Yarncroke's had a shot on net, and I'm not being a jerk. They're nowhere near the net. They're not anywhere near it. So some guys that are getting the puck near the net, they're going to have to make do with it because some guys are so far away from. You look at the depth players on that team. They are so far away from scoring a goal, or it seems that way, that somebody's got to step up.
This weekend in particular was really exposed. Like the bottom 6 last night never got close.
They're not even like it's just cycle in the corner, chip it in, chip it behind, out.
Well, and with Bobby McMahon, I think you just got to be – I think maybe collectively everyone's lost sight of the fact that a year and a half ago this guy was still in the minors. And he's never played a Stanley Cup playoff game prior to this year.
Right.
It's like, what were we expecting? Bobby McMahon?
I expect more because we're going to pump his tires all year and say he's becoming kind of a power forward guy with a great stride and he's really strong. So if we're going to jack up his tires during the regular season, it's not like you just get a hall pass that just disappear and say, oh, last year I was in the minors. That is garbage.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, then, but at the same time, if you don't pull your weight, you don't pull your weight. Like, if he came out of the lineup,
that's what he's doing.
Surprised.
He's not pulling his weight. It's plain and simple. It's not like he's still growing. He's 28 years old.
Oh,
like,
exactly.
he's got to play
better. This is what
better.
you got. I guess that's what I'm saying, though. And, CJ, you can jump in. He's had some magical hot streak runs, but I'm not sure exactly. Bobby McMahon's probably closer to a fourth-line player in the league. That's probably around where he is. And if you're on the fourth line in the league, there's chance you're going to come in and out of the lineup.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I don't think it should be off the table. I think that they're worried about losing him a little bit by taking that tack.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it might get to where they have to. I mean, look, last night's game, even as poorly as the Leafs were in stretch, it's 1-0 for most of the night, right? I mean, one goal from anybody would have been so big in that game. It didn't come. But, you know, I think that's how the Leafs are looking at it. And you know, let's not shift it too far away from the big guys. So I'm sure you've been been discussing
absolutely
since the 4 o'clock hour. I mean, you know, those guys need to score a goal at some point. And look, I think back to Game 6 in Ottawa, right? The Game 5 at home here was no good. Didn't have enough pressure at all. And then, you know, Matthews scores that night. Nylander gets a couple. They finish off the series. I mean, I think you got to be looking at that kind of bounce back from the top players, you know, on Wednesday, that they're going to need those guys to set the tone and lead the way. And look, they've done it before already in this playoffs. But you have to keep doing it again and again and again if you're going to play for another 5 or 6 weeks.
Yep, absolutely. It's always the same breakdown, man. You need your best players to be the best players. They have to lead. That's the expectation on Wednesday night. All right, CJ, we'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
All right, boys. Talk soon.
Chris Johnston joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4. Gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, I mean, there may be some lineup changes. We'll see. The problem is David Kampf hasn't played a playoff game this year. Like, he has not been in the lineup at all. Nick Robertson, after Game 2 of the previous series, they just said that's enough. You know, I don't know. And Nick Robertson against the Florida Panthers, that seems like a difficult matchup for him. But
I'm just seeing if there is something adjustments. Like, you know, every team is doing stuff.
Yeah, no,
after a loss. Like,
I got to freshen it up, because if you're just going to
yeah.
throw guys out there that continue to struggle to create offense, you got to freshen something up and throw a different vibe at them.
Yeah, you're right. Like Hayes just said, like the Oilers are doing, you know, too small. One Kapanen on the fourth line and Stetcher as the sixth defenseman. Mm-hmm. They're trying to do some stuff. Paul Maurice switched out the fourth line. Didn't want
which is crazy. The whole line.
But
in
you
and
know,
out.
if you have those types of players that you feel comfortable with, it's plug and play. I don't know what's Washington doing tonight. I didn't look at their game notes, but I guarantee you, there's somebody they're trying to find a spot for.
They're just trying to find some energy. They ran Montreal out of the bit, and they got nothing. They got no jam.
Well,
Carolina, they play good, but they got nothing right now. Wash, and their goalie is stumbling a little bit.
Well, you're right, and full credit to Carolina for playing well. The goaltender is settled in. Your boy, Freddie.
Freddie's back, and he's looking good out there.
Which, guys, let's be honest, it's a scary scenario. As soon as you just start falling in love again, he'll just give you the high heater right in the pills. You know what I mean by that one.
Yeah. Well, he's going tonight. It's Game 4 tonight. Washington's got a chance to tie the series.
Like, everyone in the organization is like, this Freddie's going to take us to the top of the mountain. And he could do something so greasy and egregious where everyone would just put their head down and say, damn it, again.
Yeah, let's hope that's not the case. We're pulling for Freddie tonight.
Yeah.
Pulling for Freddie. And, again, you mentioned the changes that look like they're coming for the Oilers. Kevin Lowe will join us in about 5 minutes. Get his take on Game 4 tonight out in Edmonton, what he would expect out of Skinner tonight. He was playing defense on this team. You know, what's your reaction to what happened with 1 second left the other night? And, again, it's going to be fun to catch up with Kevin Lowe. So we'll catch up with him. We got our best bet still to come as well. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bets coming up a little bit later in the hour. Kevin Lowe will join us here in a moment. Don't forget, TSN 1050 is giving away tickets to see the Leafs and Panthers Game 5 this Wednesday at Scotiabank Arena. And all you have to do is listen to us on the iHeartRadio app for your chance to win them. To enter, download the iHeartRadio app, create an account, listen to TSN 1050 for at least 15 minutes straight. You can enter twice per day. So listen to First Up between 6 and 10 a.m. and OverDrive between 4 and 7 p.m. And the more times you listen, the better your chances of winning. First Up, we'll be calling our Game 5 winner Wednesday morning. That's a big ticket, man. Wednesday night, Game 5, second round. Leafs-Panthers, the definition of a swing game.
Yes.
The definition of a swing game on Wednesday night. Now, that will not be the way the game is defined tonight necessarily in Edmonton, but if the Oilers win this, you got to feel very good about them closing this series out.
Yeah, big opportunity for
Huge opportunity for the Oilers. And one got away from them the other night. They had a lead early. Corey Perry just keeps scoring, man. It's crazy.
Dude, that ending was so bizarre. Like, there's been a bunch of moments in these playoffs where you're like, this cannot end like this.
Yeah.
This is like out of a movie.
Yeah, it's been so dramatic. When you think of it, like they back-to-back Game 7s in the first round, and then what Riley Smith scoring with a second left.
0.4 seconds
0.4 seconds left. Off Draisaitl's sticking in.
Yeah.
Just a crazy turn of events.
And like you said, it was like an 80s/90s, goaltender charging the puck type of thing. Where Fierzy used to do it all the time in Edmonton. He'd be 10 feet outside his crease. I mean, that was Stuart Skinner, aggressive play, but man, he was far out.
He again, like Smith makes some bite on the shot.
Great play by Smith.
It's a great play. It's like I said, it was like Darryl Sittler back at the 76 Canada Cup where he fakes the shot and goes wide.
Dude, he's got to find a way, Hayes, to give his team some confidence in their own team because they're at a point. Guys aren't stupid. They'll sit in the bus and have a beer and say, there's no way in hell we can win with this guy.
If he's brutal tonight, he is. It's
Dude,
trouble.
They're a
man.
mess because it doesn't look like the other guy's coming back anytime soon. He might be out for a week, so it's like this guy's got to go in there and do a job.
Well, and he's been their starter. This is the guy that they went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final with last year. So he's battle tested. He has to do it though. Like there's no excuses. And I thought he was just okay the other night. I thought he made some really good saves, but I also thought that you could have come up with a save here or there to be a difference maker. And I think the team has to play better in front of him at certain points. The Oilers have, when they make a mistake, it's glaring. And that's the problem is the glaring ones end up in the back of the net. And you've got to find a way to limit those. But, at the end of the day, Stuart Skinner has an opportunity right now to change the narrative for himself.
That's right. Redemption, man. That's the beauty of the playoffs. 2 nights later, you're playing again. Yeah. And it's go time tonight in Edmonton, the city of champions. And that's still the name, right? Noodles, you're from Edmonton.
I mean, Struddy calls it all the time. But it's the city of champions. It's been there for a long time. I think they took the sign down, though. I can't remember.
You're kidding me. Why would they ever do that?
Well, they haven't had a...
is there a statute of limitations, though? Like, if you go a certain amount of time without a championship? I guess the Elks could pull their weight.
Are you going to say that Hockey Town in Detroit, they're going to take that down?
Yeah, exactly. You're never taking that away. It's Hockey Town forever. You can't take that away. Well, one of the guys who helped basically establish that name joins us now. He's former Oilers, Stanley Cup champ. He's been a GM. He's done it all in the game. There he is, Kevin Lowe. Did you know that, Kevin, that allegedly they took the statue down in Edmonton? What's that all about?
Can you believe it, fellas? Shockingly, I think that was the beginning of wokeness, when wokeness really began. And we were the first thing on their agenda, take the City of Champions sign down. But, Messa's got a commercial. I think they want to put it back up. So I think we earned it. And it's a great city, great people.
Yeah, you can't take that down, man. Who's that offending? That can't be offending anybody unless there's some other city that wins a bunch. I guess Boston, maybe. Maybe Boston complained, and then Edmonton had to adhere to that. I don't know, but it's a big one tonight, Kevin, and I'm curious, if you're in that room and, Riley Smith scores with 0.4 left and it's kind of a circus and somehow Vegas walks away with that win, how do you regroup? How would you expect Edmonton to regroup for the game tonight?
Well, they didn't play very well for starters. They which is sort of understandable. I hate to admit it. You've won 6 in a row. You're kind of cruising. You think you're a little invincible, and they look that way. And not for a minute am I suggesting that they underestimated the opponent, but it's just a natural instinct to sort of drop off a bit. Yeah, the playoffs are all about having your back against the wall. So the good thing is they won 2 on the road, deserved the wins. They win tonight. They're in the driver's seat. But the sad part is they've given Vegas some life. So I think they believe they're the better team. I think they are the better team. They just have to limit the mistakes. And as Jamie was suggesting just prior to me jumping on, the goalie's got to make one more save. Don't think he played poorly, but he needs to get a win for them. and to get the fans sort of back on side and to get the team in a good position.
How do you explain that? What's going on in net, Kevin? I mean, it's just crazy that Pickard goes in there and is 6-0, and this guy can't buy a win. Like, does he need a break? Does he just need to steal one, or does he just need to be a solid NHL goaltender to get out of this?
Yeah, good question, Jeff. His year wasn't as good. I think he had to battle a lot. I didn't think he played poorly in the first 2 LA games, to be quite frank. I think LA was they're hot on their power play. They got a few fortunate bounces. The team wasn't as good. But all the critics see is an 0-3 start, and they see Pickard doing what he was doing. Now, having said that, Pickard's been very good since the day he arrived here in Edmonton. I mean, I think his save percentage is one of the best in the National Hockey League. So, but he hasn't had to carry the load. Skinner proved it last year. Stu proved that he could be a top goalie. He got the team right to Game 7, and he's always been able to rebound. He just, I thought the game for him to rebound would have been the other night. I'm hoping it's tonight.
So, Kevin, you played with Fierzy. I mean, I was lucky enough to play with Fierzy as well. I mean, the demeanor was obviously the talent and everything he brought to the table, but a lot of it for me was watching Grant and his demeanor in the net. Now, Stu is a very calm guy. He looks to be very composed for, we'll call it a young goaltender. You know how noisy that market can be. All Canadian markets are. We live in Toronto. It's a noisy market as well. How is the balance of blocking out the noise of the market and just going to play? Would he be anxious today? Because it's a lot of times as a player, it's about getting to puck drop because there's so much noise leading up to it. That's the biggest challenge. Do you think that's a challenge for Stu right now?
Oh, no question. I mean, he hears it. I would hope that he's not paying attention to that. I mean, the last thing I did was pick up a newspaper when we lost a game. You know what's going to be said. You know what's going to be written. If you believe in yourself, just go out and do it. I suspect his teammates have seen enough of him that he can do it. Think about that last game. They get to overtime. They maybe win the game, and it's all it's over. And the fans want to criticize Skinner for that goal. Well, at one point, that was a 1-on-4 with 12 seconds left. And all of a sudden it ended up in our net. And I think he did a good enough job to sort of keep the guy out. But there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure on him. The good thing is that our top guys didn't play well, so they're going to be highly motivated. And the team as a whole, they don't want to give away the great work they did in Vegas by getting up 2-0. So they have to win the game tonight just to justify the good work they did. So all of those things are heading in the right direction. Now Hill could stand on his head tonight. The Oilers could play unbelievable. Skinner gives up 2 goals and they don't win the game, and he's 0-4 and things don't look good. But he proved it last year, and I believe he can prove it again this year.
We're chatting with Kevin Lowe. Part of the discussion in Toronto is, comparing the Leafs and their hunger compared to the Panthers and their hunger. The Panthers have won, and maybe that means they're more satisfied, or at least it's one of those things where they can always go home and there's, the ring's there and their names are on the cup, where there's no excuse for the Leafs to ever be anything but as hungry, if not more hungry. I'm curious where you stand on that as a guy who's won 6 Stanley Cups. Like, how would you classify or quantify your appetite for winning after you had already won?
It was every bit as great as wanting to win. The only difference is you know how to win, and you know how to sort of get through situations. I can't really speak for the Leafs. I would think that those guys want to win badly as well. They've Lord knows they've had enough disappointment. I mean, they've been a great team for a bunch of time, and they look like, getting up 2-0 on Florida. It looked like I was thinking Leafs-Oilers in the finals, but you got to play the games. But relative to being fired up and wanting to win a cup, one of the reasons why I have a strong belief that the Oilers can get there is that their 2 main guys really want to win. And they can bring it. They can bring the physicality when they need to, and they can bring the skill when they need to, and they can eliminate the mistakes when they have to. And so that bodes well for the Oilers' chances.
Well, and again, with your experience, there was those famous stories that came out after the '83 Cup final where the Islanders got you, and the Islanders, that was their 4th Cup, and, Gretzky always talks about walking past the room, and they got ice bags and all that kind of stuff, and that inspired you guys the next year. Do you see a similar mentality in terms of McDavid and Draisaitl in particular, but not only them, Hyman's still there, Nugent Hopkins, Bouchard, Nurse, etc. They were so close a year ago. And this year, the regular season, there were some ups and downs, and they came into the playoffs not playing very well, and they lose the first 2 games against LA, and they were awful. But what have you seen recently that might suggest to you that, they're starting to realize, okay, we're back in the dance, we went through what we went through last year, and we're not going to allow it to happen again?
Yeah, that's a good point. And shame on me to discount guys like you mentioned, Zach Hyman and Darnell Nurse and Nuge and I'm just trying to think of the roster right now, but there's a lot of guys that they've been in the playoffs for a number of years. They got to Game 7 last year. They know they can do it, having been so close last year. And, that goes a long way. It's a big difference when you get in the playoffs for the first few years and you don't really know. I mean, you think you're playing good, then all of a sudden you're out of the playoffs and you go, well, maybe we're not as good as we thought. The Oilers, the team they've assembled that Stan Bowman put together when he finally got healthy with Kane back in the lineup and Trent Frederick, rather, they got the needed size up front that they hadn't had in previous years. And the other big point is the 2 puck-moving guys on the back end, Klingberg and Wallman. I mean, when you can get the puck up the ice to the top players, and you can get in there and lay the body when the skill isn't taking over the game. I mean, that's the 1-2 punch that you need. And those are big differences from the year before. And I think guys like McDavid and Draisaitl know that. They know the pieces are there, and it's on them to deliver.
With Kevin Lowe, when you consider the heater that Mikko Rantanen is currently on, where it seems like it's 3 points every single night, if not more than that in a single period, you would have witnessed some real heaters, like when you were in Edmonton.
Some of the grossest heaters of all time.
What would that be like? Take us into that world where you're watching a guy like Gretzky or Messier, and you're just like, I can't believe these guys keep doing this every night in the playoffs.
Yeah.
To be honest, we kind of became immune to it, right? No one really. It was, for us, it was wins and losses. I'm sure Gretz and Yari and Paul Coffey and those guys messed with it. They were keeping track. But having said that, I don't think they were. I think it was just all about wins and losses. It just turned out that, we played against some inferior competition, particularly Chicago that one year where the scores were ridiculous. When Orville Tessier said they all had to go to the Mayo Clinic to get a heart transplant on his own guys. I mean, but the irony is with a little bit with Rantanen is that, I mean, for a while there, he looked like he'd lost his game. Mm-hmm. When he was in Carolina, and then even when he first got to Dallas, and then all of a sudden, I mean, the shackles were off, and it's great to see because obviously the guy's having fun, but I would say Rantanen would be the same as those guys. It really is about the wins and losses and trying to win a cup.
So, Kevin, the parity in the National Hockey League now, I mean, anybody can win on any given night. And were there nights where you guys were playing and rolling where it's like, hey, we're in Hartford. We know this is a scheduled win just based on who's on the ice of the other one. Was it in the room? Did you guys go, hey, this is going to be an easy one? Or you just felt like, hey, we're going to flick the switch? Or did you prepare the same way?
We always prepared the same way, Jamie. We never... you're just maybe subliminally you're thinking it's obviously it's not the Battle of Alberta, or you're not going into the Montreal Forum or the Boston Garden or the Spectrum, where you better have your A game or you get your head punched in. But we always respect our opponent, and regular season for sure there would have been nights, especially for a guy like myself. I mean, who am I to go into another NHL team and think it's going to be an easy night? I had a hard night every night, but that's the way I prepared. But I'm sure the top guys, they knew that some nights would be easier than others, but come playoff time, it was never easy. And we ran off years where one year we only had 2 losses in the playoffs. But I mean, a lot of those games could have gone either way, within the context of one 60-minute game. It was just never easy as the series outcome appeared. And I think there's even more balance in the National Hockey League right now. I think really of all the 16 teams that got in this year, I can't really, Montreal was a little bit green, but for a while there, it looked like they were going to give Washington a run. But otherwise, there's a lot of contenders, and that's great for the game of hockey.
Kevin, we just need to clarify one thing with you before we get you out of here. We have Jason Strudwick on this show, and on a weekly basis, he claims that he gets recognized in public a bunch by people. Do you think it's possible that people would recognize him as a former NHL player in the city of Edmonton, of all places? Do you think people go up to him, or is he lying to us?
Struddy's a great man, as you guys know. He was a great a great NHLer, like a really deserving NHLer. He gave everything he had. He's got I think they probably recognize him for his wife, because she is just a wonderful lady, and I'm really happy to see. I'm really happy to see that they've settled in Edmonton. He's got a great thing going on the radio, and he's on with you guys, and he's worked at it, and I'm happy for him. I enjoyed when he played for us, and I see him quite often when I'm in Edmonton. And there's a guy that deserves whatever, any of the accolades, and I'm sure he does get recognized here, Jeff. Edmonton loves their hockey players.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Whenever, like, that's Mr. Spengler Cup. Jason Strudwick.
Hey, you know what? He's got a defenseman camp too. If you ever want to learn how to rip it off the glass, just sign up. Get your kids, whatever, involved in his camp.
That's right. It's the best of the best. All right, Kevin. Good luck watching the game tonight. It should be a fun one. Thank you for doing this.
Hey, anytime, guys. Thanks.
There he is, Kevin Lowe. 6-time Stanley Cup champ.
That crazy? Six.
And he was on that Rangers team in '94, man. That would have been a party, as we've mentioned. Man. But, yeah, you got the 5 in Edmonton, and then one more when he was in New York.
I was going to bring it up. My one only start in the playoffs, Kevin scored. Like, I lost
really?
6. Yeah, I lost 6-0. I'm pretty sure Kevin scored that game.
Oh, man.
And it was
Islanders, Rangers?
Islanders, Rangers. It was a bloodbath. Like, we came in third in that series. Like, the Rangers just dominated us. I think Ray and I have talked about it.
Was that 94 when they won the Cup?
94. They won the Cup.
Yeah.
It was Islander Rangers first round. Hexie started the first game.
I remember that.
Hexie started the first game. It was 6-0 halfway through the second period. They threw me in. I shut him out the rest of the game. It was back-to-back to start the series. To start the series. I started the next game. We lost 6-0 again. I think I had like 48 shots. They just dummied us. And then it was like 5-2, 5-2. Like, they outscored us like 22-4 in that series. And it was like a dummying. But that team was a rock star team, and Kevin was on that team.
Yeah.
Like, they were good.
Yeah, they had Glenn Anderson that year, right?
Yeah.
They had a bunch of the old Oilers. McTavish was on that team.
Well, that's what Doogie just put. Messier, Lowe, and Mac T also scored on me in that game.
Oh, there you go.
Dude, I think Glennie Anderson finished with 499 goals.
Ooh, just missed the 500 club.
I don't know. I just remember thinking that, hearing that's crazy, that Glenn Anderson, Doogie, check that. I think he finished with 499.
He took a suspension every 2 games by going to the net, running the goalie, or he had this crazy stick.
He run over a goalie.
He would chop people over the head with his stick, and it would be like an errant stick. Like, he
had one of the best cut-in moves to ever play in the National Hockey. He'd stick his left knee out, coming off the off wing, and the guy just couldn't get around, and he would take it right to the cage. He was unbelievable at it.
Yeah. 498. Is where he ended, 498. Best Bets, powered by FanDuel. We'll get to that next. All right, today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. I'm going to be on the Caps on the puck line. I think it's a close game tonight. Yeah. I don't think they're just going to get blown out. I know they lost 4-0 the other day. They didn't look good, but I think they have a response. I wouldn't be shocked if they won tonight, but I think it's a 1-goal game tonight. And I'm on the Oilers. I think the Oilers, I think they're going to respond. I think they're going to get this series. I think they're going to win tonight. Paying that parlay is paying plus 225 for those two plays tonight on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. All right, we got one game in the Stanley Cup playoffs tomorrow. We got Winnipeg in action. We got the draft lottery in the NBA. So who knows? Maybe the next hour, fortunes of the Raptors are going to be completely changed forever. We'll see what comes of it. And the Jays will be home tomorrow, and they just swept Seattle. They've won 4 in a row. They're back to 500.
Back to respectability.
Are you back
like what I'm
Jays?
seeing.
Are you back on them? What did I say the other day?
The bats were red hot over the weekend. Addison Barger was unbelievable. All weekend, they're getting a lot. They're getting hit from basically top to bottom of the order right now. So I don't know, but you'll take it. Back to 500. Yeah. You squeeze through the first 6 weeks. It's been a tough schedule. Let's see. You got Tampa here for 3 games starting tomorrow. You got Detroit on the weekend. See what the Jays have in store. So we'll figure that out tomorrow. And PGA picks coming up as well as the PGA Tour heads to Quail Hollow for the PGA Championship this weekend, the second major of the year. It's going to be a fun week. All right, we're out of here. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today, TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
A goal cannot be scored by an attacking player who's using a distinct kicking motion to propel the puck into the net with the skate or foot. We'll chat tomorrow at 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
Propelled.
Propelled.
Wrong.